Alrighty, let's take off. Number 1. Russell's Paradox. Picture math the way it wanted to see itself around the year 1900. Clean. Total. A perfect machine where, in principle, every true thing could be built up from a few obvious rules about collections of stuff. Groups of things. Sets. You have the set of all cats. The set of all numbers. The set of all sets. Simple. Bulletproof. The dream was that you could put every truth in the universe on this one unshakable foundation. Now you do something small. You ask a question a bored child could ask. Some sets contain themselves. The set of all things that are not cats. That set is not a cat, so it's inside itself. Most sets don't. The set of all cats is not itself a cat, so it stays outside. Fine. So picture the set of all the sets that do not contain themselves. Every set that keeps itself out. Gather them all up into one big set. Now look at that set and ask the child's question. Does it contain itself? Feel it start to slip. If it does contain itself, then by its own rule, it shouldn't be in there, because it only holds sets that keep themselves out. So it doesn't. But if it doesn't contain itself, then it fits the rule perfectly. So it belongs inside. So it does. It's in only if it's out. It's out only if it's in. There is no answer. There is no version of the answer that survives more than 1 second of thought. That's it. That's the whole thing. And that tiny loop in the year 1901 is what a young man named Bertrand Russell found sitting underneath all of mathematics, like a hairline fracture in the basement of a cathedral. Here's the part that turns it from a curiosity into a tragedy. There was a man named Gottlob Frege who had spent his entire life building that cathedral. Decades. His masterwork, the one that was going to put arithmetic on a foundation so solid it could never be questioned, was literally at the printer. Volume 2, going to press. And a letter arrives from Russell, polite, almost apologetic, describing this little loop. Frege understood it instantly. He knew, reading it, that it was over. He added a note to the end of his book, and the note is one of the saddest things ever written by a scientist. He said, more or less, that nothing worse can happen to a thinker than to have the foundation collapse just as the work is finished. He never recovered. His life's work had a hole in the middle of it, and the hole was 1 sentence long. They patched mathematics afterward. New rules. Careful fences built specifically so you can never gather that one poisonous set together again. Modern math still works. Your bank balance is fine. But something died that day, and it doesn't come back. Because the lesson underneath the loop is the thing that should keep you up at night. The most certain, most obvious, most everyone knows this idea in the room can be false. Not, we haven't proven it yet. False. And you won't see it coming, because the crack is always in the brick nobody thought to check. Hold on to that feeling, because physics is about to have the exact same day. Number 2, the Ultraviolet Catastrophe. Right now, everything around you that has any warmth at all is glowing. Your body, your coffee, the wall. They're all throwing off light you can't see, radiation streaming off them because they're warmer than nothing. This is normal. This is fine. You are not on fire. But by the physics of the late 1800s, you absolutely should be. The best minds of the era sat down to do something that sounds boring and turned out to be apocalyptic. They wanted the exact math for how a warm object glows, how much light it throws off at each color, each wavelength. They had beautiful, respectable, rock-solid classical physics to do it with, so they turned the crank, and the equation they got, the one built from everything they knew was true, made a prediction. It said that as you go to shorter and shorter wavelengths, toward the violet, past the violet, into the ultraviolet, the energy pouring out should climb, and keep climbing, with no ceiling, forever. Add it all up across every color, and the total energy radiating off of any warm object off of your coffee cup comes out to infinity. Sit with how insane that is. Their own trusted physics said that the moment you heated anything even slightly, it should instantly blast an infinite amount of energy into the room, most of it as a killing flood of ultraviolet and worse. Open the oven, vaporize the city, light a candle, end the world. According to the math, you should already be dead. Everyone should. The universe shouldn't be able to have a warm object in it at all. And yet, here you are, holding a warm mug, extremely not vaporized. That gap between the equations say infinity and reality says you're fine is the crack. Later they gave it a name that sounds like a disaster movie, the Ultraviolet Catastrophe, and it was a catastrophe, just not the kind with radiation. It was a catastrophe for physics itself, because it meant the trusted machine was broken at a level nobody could ignore. Then, a careful, conservative German physicist named Max Planck, in the year 1900, did something he hated. He cheated. He assumed that energy doesn't flow like a smooth stream. He assumed it comes in tiny, indivisible chunks, packets. You can have 1 packet or 2 packets, but never 1.5. And when he forced energy to be lumpy like that, the infinity vanished. The math snapped into place and matched reality perfectly. He called it an act of desperation. He didn't believe it. He spent years afterward trying to undiscover it, trying to make the lumps go away and get his smooth, sensible world back. He never could. Because those lumps were real. Those packets are quanta, and that reluctant little cheat to kill an infinity is the birth of quantum mechanics. Every transistor, every laser, every screen you have ever looked at, including the one in front of your face right now, exists because one warm object refused to glow the way the textbook demanded. A paradox didn't just embarrass physics, it rebuilt it. And the man who lit the fuse spent the rest of his life wishing he hadn't. Number 3, the liar paradox. This one is so old and so simple, you'll want to wave it away. Don't. It's the one that got math a second time, and this time there was no patch. Here's the whole weapon. 1 sentence. This statement is false. Go ahead and try to decide if it's true. If it's true, then what it says is correct, and what it says is that it's false. So it's false. But if it's false, then what it claims is wrong, and it claims to be false. So it must actually be true. True means false. False means true. And your brain just does a little skip like a scratched record. For thousands of years, people treated this as a fun bar bet. A toy. Kids' stuff. Then, in the year 1931, a quiet, intense logician named Kurt Gödel picked up the toy and turned it into a bomb. Remember, after Russell blew the hole in the foundation, mathematicians had rebuilt. They'd made new careful rules, and they had a new dream, a fallback dream. Maybe math isn't as pretty as we hoped, but surely, within these careful new rules, every true statement can eventually be proven. Give it enough time, enough paper, and the machine can grind out a proof of anything that's actually true. Complete. Airtight. No true thing left hiding. Gödel found a way to make math talk about itself. He built a code where mathematical statements could be turned into numbers, so that arithmetic could make claims about arithmetic. And with that code, he constructed one specific statement. A statement that, decoded, says something very close to the liar. It says, this statement cannot be proven. Now watch the trap close, because it's beautiful and it's merciless. Suppose the system can prove that statement. Then it just proved something that says it can't be proven, which means the system proved a falsehood, which means the whole system is broken and worthless. So a good, consistent system cannot prove it. But if it can't be proven, then read what the statement says. it says it can't be proven. It's telling the truth. So here is a statement that is true, provably true from the outside, and the system can never, ever prove it from the inside. That's the end of the dream. Forever. Gödel proved that any system of math powerful enough to be interesting will always contain true things it cannot prove. You can add more rules to catch the ones that slip through, and the moment you do, brand new unprovable truths pop into existence, laughing at you. There is no finish line. There's no complete, closed book of mathematics. There never will be. Take that in. Truth is bigger than proof. Always. There are things that are simply true, in the coldest, most rigorous sense, that no logic will ever reach. 2 paradoxes ago, a sentence broke the foundation. This one proved the foundation can never be finished, and it all came from a joke you tell in a bar. Number 4, the Monty Hall problem. Time to come down out of the clouds and watch a paradox humiliate some of the smartest people alive over a game show. Because the last 2 broke mathematics. This one breaks you. Your gut. Your instinct. The part of you that feels certain. You're on a stage. 3 doors. Behind one door is a car. Behind the other 2, a goat each. You want the car. You pick a door. Say, door 1. You don't open it yet. Now, the host steps in, and the host knows where the car is. He walks over to one of the 2 doors you didn't pick. One he knows has a goat, and he swings it open. Goat. Grinning at you. 2 doors left. Closed. Yours and one other. The host smiles and asks the only question that matters. Do you want to stay with your door or switch to the other one? Everything in you says it doesn't matter. 2 doors, 1 car, 50-50. Flip a coin. Why would switching help? That feeling is so strong, it's almost physical, and it is dead wrong. If you switch, you win 2 times out of 3. If you stay, you win 1 time out of 3. Switching literally doubles your chances, and your brain will fight this fact like it's an insult. Here's why it's true. When you first picked, you had a 1 in 3 shot at the car. That means there's a 2 in 3 chance the car was behind one of the other 2 doors. Opening a goat door doesn't change that the car was probably over there. The host just did you a favor and told you exactly which of those 2 to jump to. He can always show you a goat because he knows. All that leftover 2 in 3 probability piles up onto the 1 door he left closed. Switch, and you're grabbing it. Now here's the human part, the part that makes this a real story. In the year 1990, a woman named Marilyn Vos Savant, who was listed as having one of the highest recorded intelligence scores in the world, printed this exact answer in a magazine column. Switch, she said, 2/3. The country lost its mind. She got something like 10,000 letters telling her she was an idiot. Around 1,000 of them came from people with PhDs. Actual mathematicians, professors, wrote in to sneer that she was wrong, that she should be ashamed, that she was setting the nation back. One of the greatest mathematicians of the entire century refused to believe the answer. Refused. He only gave in when someone sat him down and ran the game on a computer hundreds of times in front of his face, and the numbers came up 2/3, and he had to watch his own certainty die on the screen. That's the lesson, and it's a nasty one. Being smart does not protect you. Your intuition is a machine built for chasing dinner on a savanna, and it will lie to your face with total confidence about anything more complicated than that. The paradox here isn't in the doors. It's in you, and you carry it everywhere you go. Number 5, the Raven Paradox. Okay, your gut is unreliable. Fine. But surely evidence is solid. Surely when something counts as proof of an idea, you at least know that much. You don't. Watch a green apple confirm something about birds. Start with a claim. All ravens are black. Reasonable. How would you gather evidence for it? Easy. You go outside, you find a raven, it's black. That's a little tick in the yes column. find another black raven, another tick. Every black raven you spot makes you a little more sure. This is just how evidence works. Nothing weird yet. Now a tiny piece of pure logic. All ravens are black is saying the exact same thing as everything that is not black is not a raven. Those two sentences carry identical meaning. If every raven is black, then anything that fails to be black cannot be a raven, and the other way around. Flip one, you get the other. They're the same claim wearing two outfits. But here's the problem. If they're the same claim, then evidence for one is evidence for the other. So anything you find that is not black and not a raven should count as a little tick in the yes column for all ravens are black. Look at a green apple. Not black. Not a raven. Congratulations, you just found evidence that all ravens are black. Look at a red bus, a yellow banana, your own white sneakers. Every non-black, non-raven thing in your house is, by ironclad logic, proof about the color of birds you have never seen. You could confirm a fact about ravens without ever going outside. Just sit in your room, cataloging everything that isn't black and isn't a raven, and technically, formally, you're building a case. People actually call this indoor ornithology, studying birds by staring at fruit, and every part of it follows from rules you already agreed were true. There's no cheat. There's no trick step. Simple logic just handed you a conclusion that feels completely insane. A man named Hempel put this on the table in the 1940s, and it wasn't to be cute. It cracked something people thought was obvious, the idea that we understand what evidence even is. The best fix anyone has says the green apple really does confirm all ravens are black. Just by an amount so unbelievably tiny, it might as well be nothing, because there are oceans of non-black things and only a handful of ravens. Which is clever. But look at what happened. You had to rebuild your entire idea of proof just to explain why a piece of fruit isn't secretly a bird fact. The word evidence turned to sand in your hand, and you didn't even notice until it was too late. Number 6. Simpson's Paradox. This is the one that's lying to you right now. Today. In the news, in the ads, in the study your friend keeps quoting. And it's the most dangerous kind of paradox, because it doesn't feel like a paradox. It feels like a fact. Here's the shape of it. The same set of numbers, the exact same data, can prove one thing, and its opposite at the same time. It just depends on how you group it. And whoever chooses the grouping chooses the truth. Let me make it real, because this actually happened. Picture two medical treatments for kidney stones. Call them treatment A and treatment B. You run the numbers on small stones, and treatment A wins. It works better. You run the numbers on large stones, and treatment A wins again. Better there too. So A beats B on the small ones, and A beats B on the big ones. There are only small stones and large stones. A is better at both. Obviously, A is the better treatment. You'd bet your life on it. Now you pool everything together into one big pile and look at the overall success rate, and treatment B wins. B, the one that lost both categories. The one that was worse at small stones and worse at large stones somehow comes out ahead when you mash it all together. Your brain refuses this. It can't both be true. But it is. And here's the sleight of hand. The doctors gave the gentle treatment B, mostly, to the easy small stone cases, and saved the harder treatment A for the brutal large stone cases. So treatment A was carrying all the hardest patients on its back. It still won inside each group, but its overall score got dragged down by the difficulty of the cases it was handed. The grouping hid the truth. This isn't a one-off. It showed up in a famous university's admissions data. where it looked for all the world like the school was rejecting women unfairly, until someone split it by department, and the bias basically evaporated, because the women were applying to the most competitive departments, where everybody got rejected. Same numbers. Two completely opposite stories, both technically true. Now think about how many numbers get thrown at you every single day. This drug lowers your risk. This group earns more. This policy works. And almost never do you get to see how the pile was sorted. Somebody, somewhere, chose the grouping before it ever reached you. They chose which true story you'd hear. You are swimming in statistics that are all, individually, accurate, and any one of them could be pointing you at the exact wrong conclusion, and you would never feel a thing. That's not a puzzle in a textbook. That's Tuesday. Number 7. Parity Violation. For a long time, physics believed the universe was ambidextrous, that it had no favorites, no handedness, no secret preference for left over right. And there's a lovely way to feel why they believed it. Imagine you're talking to an alien on another world, over radio, never able to send a picture or point at anything. And you try to teach them the difference between left and right. Try it. Every single thing you say, they can flip in a mirror and it still works. There's no experiment you can describe, no law of nature you can invoke that comes out different for left-handed than right-handed. The universe seemed to be perfectly symmetric. Its reflection in a mirror should obey all the same rules as the real thing. Physicists were so sure of this, they treated it as a law and barely thought about it. Left and right were just labels. The cosmos didn't care. Then, in the 1950s, two physicists, Li and Yang, did something dangerous. They actually checked. They noticed that for one particular force of nature, the weak force, the one behind certain kinds of radioactive decay, nobody had ever really tested whether the mirror rule held. Everyone assumed. Nobody looked. So a brilliant experimentalist named Chen-Xiong Wu looked. She took radioactive cobalt, chilled it down to almost absolute zero, and lined up the atomic nuclei so they were all spinning the same way. Then she watched which direction they spat out their particles as they decayed. If the universe were truly mirror-symmetric, the particles would come out evenly. No preference, up and down in equal amounts. They didn't. The particles came flying out, preferentially, in one direction, relative to the spin. The universe picked a side, and that means the mirror image of that experiment, the reflection, shows something that never actually happens in reality. For the first time, you could tell the alien which way is left. You just describe Wu's experiment, and the direction the particles fly is a real, absolute, built into the cosmos arrow. Left and right stopped being labels. The universe has a hand it favors, and it had been hiding it the whole time. This landed like a bomb in 1957, a law people had trusted completely, without even feeling the need to test it, was just wrong. One of the most famous physicists in the world had bet it would hold, and lost. The prize for the discovery went out that same year, stunningly fast. And here's the bitter footnote you should carry out of this one. The Nobel went to the two men who had the idea. Wu, who did the actual experiment, who caught the universe in the act, was left off it. She proved the cosmos has a favorite hand, and the world quietly forgot to hand her the medal. Number 8. The Bentley Paradox. Sometimes the person who breaks the wall isn't a genius. Sometimes it's just someone who asks the great genius a simple question the genius can't answer. And you get to watch the smartest man alive squirm. The year is 1692. Isaac Newton is a god. He has just handed humanity the law of gravity, clean and universal. Every mass pulls every other mass. The apple, the moon, the planets, all of it. One gorgeous rule. And a scholar named Richard Bentley, who is preparing some lectures, writes Newton a letter with a question that sounds almost dumb at first. Bentley says, in effect, hold on. If every star in the sky is pulling on every other star with this gravity of yours, and gravity only ever pulls, never pushes, then what's stopping all of them? Why hasn't every star in the universe already come crashing together into one giant lump? Give gravity enough time with nothing to counter it, and the whole cosmos should collapse into a single point. So why is there still a sky at all? And Newton, the god, doesn't have a good answer. You can feel him wrestling with it in the letters. First he tries to say, well, if the universe is infinite, and stars are spread out evenly forever in all directions, then each star gets pulled equally hard in every direction at once, and all those pulls cancel out, so nothing moves. Clever. Except it's a knife balanced on its edge. Newton knew it. He admitted the stars would have to be placed with infinite precision, perfectly poised, and the tiniest nudge anywhere would start the whole thing falling. It's not stability. It's a house of cards the size of the universe. So what does the greatest scientist who ever lived fall back on? God. He wrote that it would take a constant divine hand, a continual miracle, to keep the stars from rushing together. That's the actual answer he lands on. The math couldn't hold the universe up, so he had God reach in and hold it up by hand, forever. Here's why this one matters more than it looks. Bentley's question was right. The universe of still, eternal, evenly spread stars really is impossible under gravity. It really can't just sit there. And the answer, the real answer, wouldn't arrive for more than 200 years, when we finally learned the universe isn't sitting still at all. It's expanding. It's flying apart. And that motion is what keeps gravity from winning. A churchman with a simple question saw the crack in Newton's cosmos 2 centuries before anyone could fill it. Newton papered over it with a miracle. The crack was real the whole time. Number 9. Newcomb's Paradox. Now one comes for something you didn't even know could be attacked. Not math, not physics, not evidence. Your ability to make a rational choice at all. Because here's a game where 2 perfect, flawless pieces of reasoning look at the same situation and scream opposite answers. And nobody, to this day, can say which one is right. Here's the setup. A being sits in front of you. Call it the predictor. It is almost never wrong about what people will do. Assume it's read you down to the atom, run you forward, and it knows, with terrifying accuracy, what you're about to choose. It has already made its prediction and left. In front of you are 2 boxes. One is clear, and you can see it holds $1,000, right there, real. The other box is sealed shut. You can't see inside. Here's the deal the predictor set up before it left. You have 2 options. You can take only the sealed box, or you can take both boxes. And here's the twist that already happened. If the predictor guessed you would take only the sealed box, it put $1 million inside it. If it guessed you would greedily grab both, it left the sealed box empty. It already decided. The boxes are already filled or not filled. Nothing you do now changes what's inside. It's done. So, both boxes, or just the sealed one. And here's where your mind splits down the middle. Reasoning number 1. That predictor is almost never wrong. The people who took only the sealed box are walking away rich. $1 million, because the predictor saw it coming and loaded the box. The people who grabbed both got a measly 1,000, because it saw that coming too and left them the empty box. The pattern is obvious. Be the kind of person who takes one box. Take the sealed box. Walk away a millionaire. Reasoning number 2. Are you serious? The boxes are already filled. The predictor is gone. Whatever is in that sealed box is in there right now. Frozen. Unchangeable. If there's 1,000,000 in it, taking both gets you the 1,000,000 plus the extra 1,000. If it's empty, taking both at least gets you the 1,000 instead of nothing. In every single case, taking both boxes gets you $1,000 more than taking one. Only a fool leaves free money on the table. Take both. Both arguments are airtight. Both are just obviously correct. And they tell you to do opposite things. This isn't a trick with a hidden answer. Serious thinkers have fought over it for more than 50 years, and they're still split almost down the middle, right now, today. Because underneath the boxes is a much worse question. If something can truly predict your choice before you make it, was it ever really your choice? Or were you always just going to do the thing it already saw? You feel free. You feel like the decision is yours. Live. Happening now. Newcomb's boxes quietly ask whether that feeling was ever real. Number 10. The Sorites Paradox. This one is almost 2,400 years old, and it attacks the softest, most everyday thing there is. The plain words coming out of your mouth. It proves, with simple steps you can't argue with, that your language doesn't actually make sense. Here's a pile of sand. A heap. Obviously a heap. Now take 1 grain off the top. Still a heap, right? Of course. 1 grain never turns a heap into a non-heap. That would be absurd. A single grain deciding everything. So it's still a heap. Take another grain. Still a heap. Same reasoning. 1 grain can't be the difference. Take another. Still a heap. You agree with every single step, because every single step is obviously true. Removing 1 grain from a heap always leaves a heap. So you keep going, and going. And here's where it bites you. Because if that step is always true, then you can run it all the way down to a single grain of sand, sitting alone on the table, and be forced to call it a heap. 1 grain. A heap. That's madness. Nobody calls 1 grain a heap. But you agreed to every step. Where exactly did it stop being a heap? Point to the grain. Point to the one specific grain whose removal killed the heap. The exact number where heap became not a heap. You can't. There is no such grain. There's no line. And it works in reverse for anything. How many hairs do you lose before you're bald? Not 1 hair, surely. That's ridiculous. But keep pulling one at a time, and eventually you're bald, and you cannot name the single hair that did it. How tall is tall? How many minutes make you late? How many cells make you, you? Every one of these words works fine in daily life and completely falls apart the instant you push on the boundary. Because the boundary isn't there. And that's a genuine problem, because logic, real logic, runs on things being true or false, on or off, heap or not heap. But the world is full of these fuzzy words that refuse to pick a side, that live in a smear in the middle. For thousands of years, this just sat there, an annoying little puzzle. Then people trying to build machines that could actually reason had to face it head on, and it helped push the invention of a whole new kind of logic, one where things can be a little bit true, partly true, true to a degree. That fuzzy logic is inside real devices today. All because you can't tell me when a heap stops being a heap. The most basic act there is, calling a thing by its name, turns out to have no solid ground under it at all. Number 11. The Fermi Paradox. Every paradox so far has been about knowing. Cracks in math, in physics, in logic, in your own certainty. Walls that fell and got rebuilt, and life went on. This last one is different. This one isn't about what we know. It's about whether we're alone, and whether we're about to find out why. And nobody has rebuilt this wall. It's still standing over all of us, right now, unanswered. Start with the numbers, because the numbers are staggering. Our galaxy holds hundreds of billions of stars. Most of them have planets. The galaxy is over 10 billion years old, which means countless worlds had a head start on Earth of billions of years. Billions. And here's the kicker. You do not need magic to cross a galaxy. Even creeping along at a tiny fraction of the speed of light, a civilization that just kept going, settling one system, then the next, would wash across the entire Milky Way in a few tens of millions of years. Against the age of the galaxy, that's nothing. An afternoon, a blink. So the galaxy has had more than enough time to fill up completely, many times over. By every reasonable estimate, the sky should be crowded. It should be loud. There should be signals, structures, probes, ruins, someone's cosmic garbage drifting past. Something, and there is nothing. Silence. We point our instruments at the stars and we hear our own echo and nothing else. This is the whole paradox, and a physicist named Enrico Fermi crushed it into 4 words over lunch in the year 1950. Everyone should be out there. Where is everybody? And this is the turn, the place this video stops being a tour of clever old contradictions and points straight at you. Because every other paradox tonight got solved, or at least tamed. This one is wide open, and every answer to it is a door, and some of those doors are very dark. Maybe life is just freakishly rare, and we're close to alone. Maybe civilizations always destroy themselves, a wall every species slams into, and the silence is the sound of everyone who came before us already gone. That idea has a name, the Great Filter, and the truly frightening version isn't that the filter is behind us. It's that the filter is ahead of us. Still coming. Waiting. There's no comfortable place to land here, and I'm not going to pretend there is. Look back at what you just watched. A sentence broke mathematics. A warm cup broke physics. A joke proved truth outruns proof. A game show beat the smartest people alive. A green apple dissolved evidence. A pile of numbers told 2 opposite truths. The universe was caught choosing a hand. Newton reached for a miracle. 2 flawless arguments went to war over your free will. And a heap of sand ate the meaning of your own words. 11 walls. 11 times somebody asked the one question everyone else skipped, and the certainty just fell. Every one of those walls looked permanent from the inside. Right up until it wasn't. And the last question, the biggest one, the one about whether anyone is out there and why the sky is so quiet, is still standing, still unanswered, still ours. Sleep well,